Let's make a start. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today from around the world. Welcome to our webinar on AI agents and actuarial enablement. This is the second episode of the IAA Data Analytics webinar series. My name is John, and I'll be your moderator for this session. Before we begin, I'd like to go through a couple of housekeeping items. Firstly, we welcome your questions. Please submit them using the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom screen. We'll try to answer as many as we can at the end of the presentations. The second item is recording and presentations. A YouTube recording along with the presentation slides will be made available on the IAA website and I believe through email as well. If you miss out on the first episode last month on predictive underwriting, you can catch up the recordings and the slides on the IAA webpage. So today we have an exciting agenda lineup. Traditionally, actuaries have relied on historical data and manual spreadsheets to do actuarial work and to inform decision making. But with the advent of AI agents, are we ready to navigate the next frontier of actuarial productivity? Today, we will hear about real-world applications, best practices, and future outlook of opportunities in this field from two experts who are well-known in the Australian actuarial community. Jared, he brings 2 decades of experience in the Australian life insurance industry. He combines his extensive technical expertise with an innovative mindset to explore the integration of AI into actuarial workflows. He's dedicated to advance the conversation of AI's role in actuarial work and to highlight the significant impact actuaries can have on broader AI adoption. Our second speaker is Zamin, who also brings around 2 decades of experience across Australia, New Zealand, and China. He is currently Senior Manager of Actuarial and Analytics at Zurich, focusing on leveraging analytics and AI in the life insurance industry. His previous roles include Director of Data Science and LexisNexis Risk Solutions and various positions at Munich Re, Covermore, and IAG. Without further ado, Jared Zamin, the digital stage is yours.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to start by inviting everyone to imagine this scenario. Okay, imagine it's 9 a.m. Monday morning. You're in desperate need of a coffee, but your boss has an urgent request. There's been some recent product and pricing changes have been leading to a spike in customer complaints, and the CEO has an urgent request. They want to know what's changed and why. They want some analysis of this feedback to find out what customers are complaining about. They want some modeling work done, some sensitivities to gauge some potential pricing responses. And to top it off, they want it all written up in a document by 10 a.m., 1 hour's time. So it's a daunting task, but to make matters worse, you're new to the company, you're not familiar with the previous work, your modeling expert's off sick, you don't know the model, your data analyst doesn't typically come in till 10 a.m. You just don't have time to read all of these complaints. So it sounds like a daunting task. It sounds like an impossible task. But what if you had a team of AI agents who could help you? And maybe you're thinking this is still sort of science fiction, but in fact, we're going to demonstrate today how a team of AI agents can indeed help with a task like this. So we'll show you how AI agents can become very powerful when they have access to the right documents, but importantly, when they have access to the right tools. To show you sort of briefly in action, let me actually give you an introduction to the team of AI agents who can actually help with this task. You can see we've got a team of 6 agents here, and let me introduce you. Sorry, I'm having a problem with the full screen. Zoe, could you introduce yourself and explain what's your role and what tools do you have available?
Hi there, I'm Zoe, an AI specialized in business analysis. I use powerful tools to read and summarize documents, helping you get the insights you need quickly and efficiently.
Okay, that's useful. I'm new to the company and I've got this old pricing report. If I can dig it up, are you telling me that you could summarize it and help me understand it quickly?
Yes, I'd be happy to help. Once you have the pricing report, share it with me and I'll summarize the key points for you efficiently.
All right. Well, excellent. Thanks for that. I might check back in later with you once I've found it. Maybe Marvin, we might move on to you. Could you introduce yourself to everyone? Explain what is it that you do? What tools do you have access to? How can you help us today?
Greetings, everyone. I'm Marvin, your ever-helpful AI modeling agent. I've got tools to peek at and tweak assumption tables, execute complex models, and I can even read code. How thrilling, right? I'm here to assist with all your modeling needs.
Okay, I'm probably going to need to do a bit of pricing sensitivity work. Maybe could you show me the premium rate table for the model?
Ah, the premium rates table. Let's dive into the world of numbers and assumptions. Here it is, ready to mesmerize you with its mathematical glory.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll check back in later with some actual sensitivities that I might need your help on. So that's a bit of a sneak peek about these AI agents. And look, the second half of this presentation, I'll introduce you to the others and we'll get them all working to go through that complete task. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Zemming, who's going to provide a bit more context on how these AI agents work, which will give us a bit of a better understanding prior to the full demo later on. So over to you, Zemming.
Thank you, Jared. So for the rest of today's webinar, we'll first propose the question, AI is here. Will actuaries lead or lag in terms of AI skills? And next, we'll dive into the theories and the foundations of AI agents so that we all have a better understanding of how things work. And next, I'll hand back to Jared to do the second half of the live demo. And we'll finalize everything by giving everyone some tips and some information if you want to get started on the journey of learning about AI agents. So AI has been advancing very fast, but you might wonder, why should we care as a profession? So I can explain using two graphs. The first graph is coming from trackingai.org. They track the performance of 27 AI models every week using a set of IQ test questions. So this screenshot was taken about a week ago. And basically, they measured the IQ of the different models. On average, human IQ is about 100. So you can see there's a bunch of models which are sitting comfortably above 100, so around 110 or 120. So they include Gemini 2.5 Pro, OpenAI O3 model, Claude 3.7 Sonnet, and Grok 3 Think. Many of these are reasoning models. So they use advanced chain of thought prompting, which allows them to break down complex problems into manageable steps, which are ideal for IQ tests. But they are also ideal for AI agent applications because there's a lot of planning and thinking involved. And I remember last year, when I look at the same chart in around September, there was only one model sitting above 100, and that was the O1 model. Before O1 model, I found that the AI capability wasn't quite there. If I want to do some complex tasks, some programming, I often get things wrong. But after O1, they can give you very detailed, very comprehensive answers. And now, just in around 6 months' time, we got many companies offering similar capabilities. So things are definitely moving very fast year on year. Next slide, please. And next slide, Jerry. All right, cool. So this graph is from an organization called METR. So they invented a metric to measure the capability of AI's capability. And that metric is the length of tasks measured in human completion time that AI systems can complete with a 50% success rate. So when they have that metric and they look at historical AI models, from 2019 all the way to now, and plotted the result on a graph, they can see things are moving at an exponential speed. So for example, back in 2019, GPT-2 was able to complete tasks which last a couple of seconds with a 50% success rate. GPT 3.5 can do tasks which is close to a minute. Sonnet 3.7, the latest model, can complete tasks which last almost an hour. So just to give you an idea, for 15 seconds, you could answer a question, right? For a few minutes, you can count words in a passage. For an hour, you can train a classifier model. So things are definitely moving very fast. And what's the speed of things are moving? Well, it's actually doubling every 7 months. So if the last 6 years of trend continues into the future, we will see that frontier AI models will be able to handle a few minutes up to a few hours within very shortly. And then within this decade, AI agents could independently manage week or month-long projects. So if you think about it, it's very profound. It's going to have profound impact on all the white-collar professions, including the actuarial profession. So on the one hand, there will be opportunities because many of the simple tasks can now be handled by AI, like data extraction, data analysis, graphing, doing simple reporting. But on the other hand, we all need to upskill very quickly. We need to learn to work with AI systems and to understand them, to apply the right risk management and governance on top of them in order to stay relevant. So I think the answer is clear. The actuarial profession should lead rather than lag in terms of AI skills. So now let's dive into some of the fundamental theories of AI agents. Let's use Zoe as an example. So when Zoe was asked to summarize all the feedback from the last pricing review, she essentially goes through a perceive, reason, and act cycle. So first, she needs to understand the request using natural language processing. And then she needs to plan which documents and what format to process. And after that, she can use a document summarization tool to extract key points. So Zoe is not just a simple chatbot, which responds to one prompt at a time. She can actually plan ahead and take actions, which makes Zoe very useful. So now let's look at some more examples. Sorry, before that, I think to understand what AI agents are, we should understand what they are not. So they're not another ChatGPT style chatbot. So the chatbot responds one prompt at a time, whereas agents maintain goals and state, and they can use tools. And also, we are all been using copilots, right, within Microsoft. So they work well within a narrow tool like Excel or VS Code. But AI agents, on the other hand, they can orchestrate tasks across different tools. And also, you might think that AI agents are magic, right? If you do not look under the hood, everything goes so smoothly. It's almost like science fiction. But if you look underneath the hood, you see that AI agents, they need a lot of clear prompts, a lot of tools, whether it's Python functions or different tools. They need to access data. So it's not magic, it's reality. AI agents is also not a fully autonomous employee. So over-reliance on AI is a big problem. So AI assist and not replace actuaries. So actuaries still need to apply their critical thinking and oversight and make decisions. So these key responsibilities still rest with actuaries. And finally, AI agents are not secure or safe by default. So research has shown that almost all AI systems are prone to be fooled. So AI agents can misuse tools or make incorrect calls. And therefore, governance and audit trails are very important. If you're just using this for fun at home, right? Write some poems or create some cartoons, that's okay. But if you want to apply this at an enterprise within an insurance company, for example, you need to go through very thorough governance framework because things are very critical, especially client-facing applications. So ChatGPT is roughly a smart calculator. And AI agent, on the other hand, is a self-directed analyst that reasons tools up and reports back. So behind all the agents, there's a brain. And that brain is called large language model. So on the left-hand side, you can see models like ChatGPT 4.1, Claude 3.7, Sonnet. So they're provided by different providers, OpenAI, Anthropic. So the first four models are closed source models. DeepSeek, on the other hand, is open source. So when they were launched back in January, they actually create a lot of impact because suddenly things are becoming so cheap to implement. You just need to set up your hardware and you can use the AI model. And you can also use it internally without uploading your data to the cloud or to the outside world. So all these models, what they do is nothing but predicting or coming up with the next token. So they are creating word by word, idea by idea. And all these models come from an architecture called transformer architecture, which is first released by this paper. Attention is all you need. So highly recommend going through it to understand the fundamentals. So LLMs allow agents to understand instructions, generate structured outputs, and you can specify what kind of output you want, which you will see later. And they can also decide what action or tools to use next. So LLM is definitely very important for AI agents. But just having LLM or the brain is not enough. So if we go to the next slide. So we also need tools. So I remember when ChatGPT was first launched, right? You ask it general questions, write a poem, things like that, that would be okay. But if you ask very specific mathematical questions, it can get things wrong. But then they found that you could actually create a sandbox or an environment for the AI model to execute Python scripts. And in that way, by using this kind of tool, you can get much more accurate results. So this is essentially this idea. So you need tools to make things happen. Tools bridge the gap between language and action. So on the right-hand side, you can see the system message or the prompt, which defines Marvin, the AI assistant, who specializes in cash flow projection modeling. So you can see these are the prompts that's actually used in the demo. And you can define the kind of tools Marvin get access to. So when Marvin needs to display the premium rate tables, he can use the read table tool through the show table action. And he can pass an argument called premium rate table. So in our case, it's a Python script. But you can imagine, you could be using tools for, with much advanced capabilities, like calling APIs or extracting SQL through SQL databases. So without tool, the actions couldn't be executed. And there are a few good principles of a good tool design. The first one is all tools need a very clear purpose and need to do one thing well, and just one thing. So I've been doing renovation recently. So I've been doing flooring. I get some people to do the roof, some people to install curtains. But they all specialize in one thing. So nobody comes and say, I can do everything, right? If they say that, make sure you don't trust them. The same thing applies to the tool. They all need to do one thing well. And I guess for AI agents as well, we've got so many different AI agents. They all specialize in different things, report writing, modeling, etc. And second, we also need to have very well-defined inputs and outputs, very precise and very predictable. That's why prompt engineering is very important when you want to set up the AI agents. And also, a good tool would complement the LLM strengths. So this is just one example, but we can have a look at some other examples of tools. So, these are some tools which are relevant for actuarial work. For example, you will need a document retrieval tool which allows you to retrieve underwriting manuals, policy wordings, claims guidelines, or pricing model documentations from your internal repositories. You also need data loader, right? Because you want to extract data from your policy admin system. You want to extract data from your CSV, your Excel files, your policy claims exposure data, right? You need the data loader. You also need data analysis tool. For example, you want some Python script to execute tools for you to analyze data and do some feature engineering, etc. And likewise, you need tools to generate charts, write reports, which you can put into your PowerPoint slides, or doing web searches. For example, if you are doing reserving, you might need to get the latest inflation rates or yield curves, right? You could make a call to some external API to get that information. And AI agents can handle that for you through these tools. So now let's go back to Marvin's example, and understand the LLM thought process. So this is a chart from the Hugging Face website. So you can see that the thought process starts with a query. So in our example, right, Marvin needs to think. He will say to himself, oh, I need to look at the premium rate table. And then he takes the action of show table and calls the tool read table with the parameter premium rate table. Essentially, he loads the premium rate table. And next, he would look at the table and see if it's the right table, right? He needs to observe. And if he's happy with the result, he can present back. If he's not happy, he needs to rethink what to do. Maybe he needs to pull data from different data sources. So you can see that through this cycle, AI agents can work autonomously with minimal human supervision. So we got other examples as well. So if we go to next slide. So that was Marvin. But for Zoe, she does something else. She's a business analyst. So her cycle, the theory is the same, but she does different things. So she would think, I need to look at the pricing report and summarize it. And she would take the document retrieval action and read the report and summarize it. And after that, she will say, oh, I have summarized it. I can now show it to the user. Carol, on the other hand, her thoughts will be, I need to provide feedback to Roger on each section of the report. And she will take the provide feedback action. And based on the provide feedback guidelines, she can take the action. So the guideline, you can actually specify, whether you want to provide feedback on the tone or the contents or whatever, you can specify that through your prompting. And finally, she would observe. She might say, oh, the tone is not appropriate for the business report. Maybe it's too relaxed, maybe it's too informal. Okay, she needs to provide feedback to that effect. So these are how what the agents are actually doing when you see the demo. So it's not magic. It's lots of prompting, lots of Python codes underneath it. So if you want to get started today, rather than doing everything from scratch, I highly recommend you to take a look at some of the existing AI agent frameworks. There are quite a lot of them, so I picked 3 representative ones. So the first one is called Crew AI. I would say it's the most user-friendly option. So it's got a role-based design, And for the enterprise version, it's got a visual agent builder. So it's quite easy to use. You just type all the prompts, set up, define the roles, define the tasks, define the structure of the agents and how they're organized, whether it's a flat structure or sequential. So it's quite easy to set up. The con is it's got limited customization and perhaps less mature than the other frameworks. So once you are comfortable enough, you can move on to more advanced frameworks like AutoGen or LangChain and extension LangGraph. For AutoGen, you got ability to customize the conversations, and you can build human in the loop. So as I said before, we cannot blindly rely on AI agents. So we need to have human in the loop to have some human feedback, have some supervision, because all the decision and outcomes and all the responsibility rest with humans. So AutoGen has that capability built in. Also got lots of tool integration capabilities. It's quite flexible for complex tasks and it's got more advanced features. But it's a bit harder to learn, so this steeper learning curve. LangChain or LangGraph, they got a modular architecture, they got graph-based design, and a very strong community. It's quite scalable for production. It's quite educational as well. So if you go to deeplearning.ai, the website actually got a lot of AI agent courses, and quite a lot of them cover LangChain or LangGraph. So it's a bit complex for beginners, but it's quite useful if you're more confident. So some practical tips if you want to get started. So start with Crew AI, which is the easiest to use, more user-friendly option. And you need to learn some Python basics. So Python is kind of the default language, program language for AI. So if you don't know Python, I highly recommend start learning some Python basics. And with AI, it's a lot easier as well. You can use AI to teach you to learn Python. Also start to try some simple projects, like you can build a Q&A robot with the Crew AI framework. Okay, now let's take a look at some recent developments. So if you look at this entire page, right, I got protocols, I got commercial applications, and you notice that all of the release dates, right, they have something in common. So everything has been released in the last 6 months or so. So things are moving extremely fast, right? So if you look at protocols, so we got Model Context Protocol, which was proposed by Anthropic in November last year, but it has taken off quite recently because a lot of organizations are adopting MCP. So essentially what it does is it connects AI agents to tools and data sources, whether it's APIs or databases. It massively simplifies integration for enhanced functionality. So previously, for example, if you want to build an AI agent, you need to manually build up all the customization to work with every single tool, which is very painful. But with a common protocol, things suddenly become much easier, more scalable. And Google, on the other hand, in just last month, released a protocol called A2A, so agent-to-agent protocol. Essentially, it enables communication between AI agents. So you're not going to just have one single agent, just like in our demo. You would have a lot of agents, a team of agents. And to enable them to work smoothly between themselves, you need some nice protocol. So that's the A2A protocol. And on the right-hand side, you can see a few commercial applications. So first, OpenAI's Operator was released in January 2025. So it can automate web tasks like booking reservations, doing some researches. It's quite user-friendly and practical, but it's only available to pro users in the US. So it's not widely available. What's more widely available is the Deep Research tool. So it's a specialized AI agent tool for in-depth research. You can browse webs, analyze data, etc. So I've been personally using it quite a lot, whether I want to learn a specific task or I want to, say, decide, research some schools or learn about property, investment, all that kind of stuff, you can use deep research. And finally, just in March 2024, there was a startup in China called Monica. So they launched an AI agent called Manus. It's a general purpose AI for research, coding, and automation. It's very versatile, but a bit complex, but it's closed source. So just before today's presentation, I got access to it because they got some invitation codes. It's quite hard to get. So, but I think recently they allow everyone to register and give you about 1,000 free credits to try. So I just tried this one, right? Research, find and summarize recent public available reports and research the repair costs for electric vehicles versus internal combustion engine vehicles. So this is a common question if you work in motor insurance, especially if you want to work with EVs, right? So I put in this prompt into the box, and Manus goes away and does a lot of things. So it shows you the tasks, and it's got a progress bar, and you can see the screen that it's operating in. So it goes out and does a lot of researches and creates a to-do list and ticks off each task one by one. And at the end, it presents a nice report on the right-hand side with citations. So it's very, very smooth. So I highly recommend you to have a go at it just to see how AI agents work. So I will now hand back to Jared to start his second part of the live demo.
Okay, thanks for that. Let's get these AI agents cracking. So just as a quick refresher on this particular task. So there's been a surge in complaints. The CEOs requested for some detailed analysis and a written report within the hour. You're new to the company, your modeling expert's sick, your data analyst is coming in late. To put it simply, you're in a position of just simply not having the time or the expertise to do what you need to do. Let's go back and have a look at how these AI agents can help. So one of the elements of the application I'll just explain first is, and this is quite important, is not just the tools that your AI agents have access to, but also the information, the documents. So we have the ability here to select different documents and pass those documents to the agent. And later on, you'll see as the agents use their tools, they'll produce new output, and that new output will appear in the left-hand side here. And that then enables us to pass that output from one agent as an input into another agent. So importantly, the human is still in control of the flow of information. So to start with, I've dug up this 2023 report. And just to be clear, this is a fictitious example with a fictitious company. And we'll move through it reasonably quickly, sort of just showing how each of the agents, what sort of tasks they can do and how they use their tools. But hopefully it'll give a flavor for how this works. So we can go back and engage our business analyst. Look, Zoe, are you still there? You've been waiting a bit.
I'm here and ready to help whenever you're set. Just let me know when you have the documents for analysis.
Okay, excellent. I've found it. I've selected it here, given it a green tick on the left-hand side. Could you tell me what was this previous pricing proposal about? Exactly what was recommended and why was it recommended? So we're around 7 or 8 pages to digest there.
The report outlines plans for a digitized claims workflow and AI-driven pricing adjustments aimed at improving customer satisfaction and cost efficiency. There are notable concerns about risk management, but the initiatives are projected to support growth and market leadership.
Okay, that's interesting. An AI-driven dynamic pricing sounds quite innovative. Could you explain to me how exactly was that proposed to work and whose idea was it?
The AI dynamic pricing aims to personalize premiums using data from wearables and other sources, championed by the head of marketing. It's innovative, but has raised risk concerns, particularly around actuarial soundness and customer data handling.
Okay, thanks for that. We might check in again later. So it gives you a flavor for how an AI agent can help you quickly get up to speed on large documents, information that you're not necessarily across. But let's move now to trying to learn a little bit more about what our customers are actually telling us. So maybe Freddie, could you introduce yourself? Explain what you do, what tools you have access to. How can you help us today?
Hey there, I'm Freddie, your data analysis sidekick. I've got a suite of tools for extracting features, processing data, and analyzing patterns. Let's work together to dig into your unstructured data and uncover insights.
I'm loving your enthusiasm, as always. Look, I happen to have 50 pieces of customer feedback here. I'm actually going to select all 50 and pass it to you. Maybe to start with, could you just give me an overall summary? What are customers complaining about? What do we need to do differently? So in this example here, across 50 pieces of feedback, this equates to probably around 25 or 30 pages of information that we're passing over, essentially to a large language model.
I was going to summarize, but I'm missing some information. Let's try again.
Yeah, Freddie, could you try summarizing this information, please? Just tell us, what are our customers complaining about? And sometimes they're a little bit lazy on the job and they don't follow instructions, but hopefully.
I was going to summarize, but I'm missing some information. Let's try again.
Let's try again. Freddie, I've attached this customer feedback for you. Could you give us a summary and tell us what our customers are complaining about?
I was going to summarize, but I'm missing some information. Let's try again.
Okay, unfortunately, Freddie's not working properly for us today. What I will do though is I will jump to a pre-prepared example. That's one of the joys of working with a live demo. So
I was going to summarize, but I'm missing some information. Let's try again.
I'll turn Freddie off there. So what our AI agent is able to do when operating correctly is they're able to take all of the unstructured data. So I have an example here of the first piece of feedback. And we can pass all of the feedback to the agent and get a summary of it just sort of in totality. But we can also ask the agent to do what you would normally call feature extraction. And so what we see on the right-hand side is an example of the extracted features. So we can have a conversation with our agent and we can agree, based on that particular type of unstructured data, what we think is going to be useful. So in this case, we had an understanding, we learned a little bit about some of these past initiatives and some of the concerns that were raised, and AI dynamic pricing was one of those. And so we were able to ask the agent to go through one review at a time and identify the sentiment, the product that was being referred to, and whether or not AI dynamic pricing was being spoken about. And as we flick through a few reviews, all of the reviews are different. You can see different text on the left-hand side. It's all unstructured information. But what's the same is on the right-hand side, the agent has extracted structured information for us. And the advantage of structured information is we can then take that structured information and put it into our regular tools, sort of regular tools that we might use to perform analysis. So in this example, the one that I'd prepared earlier, Freddie was able to take all that structured information and then use tools that he has access to perform analysis. So in this example, was quickly able to identify that amongst the 50 reviews, sort of 58% of them were negative. But you could dig in deeper and you could look at it by product, and you could tell that for the gold product, 80% were negative, and you could go further and look for the gold product. When AI dynamic pricing was mentioned, there was in fact 87% negative. So in practice, that task actually takes Freddie about 3 or 4 minutes across 50 reviews, and it doesn't matter if it could be 50, it could be 1,000. But that's an AI agent that has the ability to leverage data, turn unstructured data into structured data, and then also has access to tools to perform analysis. So to keep things moving, we'll come back to our modeling expert. Sorry, I'm on the wrong screen. Marvin, just checking, are you still there?
Oh, I'm still here, plotting my grand escape from the monotony of assumption tables. Just kidding. How can I assist you further in navigating the wondrous world of actuarial modeling?
Could you show us that premium rate table again?
Of course. Behold the premium rates table once more. A tableau of fiscal intrigue and numerical finesse. Enjoy.
That's great. Maybe a little bit less sarcasm if that's at all possible. Look, I want to do a pricing sensitivity. I want to reduce the premium rates for the gold product by 7%. We're going to remove one of the initiatives that we had in place. Could you reduce the gold premiums only by 7%, please? So keep an eye on the numbers in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen here.
Consider it done. The premium rates for the gold product are now reduced by 7%. Navigating fiscal reforms, one change at a time.
Okay, what about, can we run the model now to have a look at the profitability?
Voila! The model has been run, crunching numbers like a snack. Take a look at the results and feast your eyes on the profitability insights.
Thanks for that. I think you missed my lack of sarcasm comment, but that's okay. So that was obviously a fast model to run for the purposes of a demo, but it doesn't really matter how complicated the model is, as long as the AI agent has a connection point to a tool that enables them to run it. It's actually the complexity of the parameters that would need to go into the tool that really matters. So in this particular example, the model, there's only about 8 tables that the modeler can choose from. So chooses the right table virtually all the time. Now in practice, you might have hundreds of tables, and some of those tables might be enormous compared to the one that we saw earlier. But in an example like that, you can just extend this AI agent framework. You could have an agent that specializes in a particular table or a particular group of tables. And then you could have a modeling agent that essentially acts as an orchestration agent that then engages the other agents relevant to the particular task. So to recap, we've managed to use one agent to get up to speed with some documents that we weren't familiar with. In practice, if our data analyst friend was working, we'd have been able to extract structured data and run additional analysis. But if you recall, we had one more task that we'd been asked to do. We've got a few other members on the team. So maybe Tara, could you introduce yourself and explain what you do and how you work with the other members of the writing team?
Hi there, I'm Tara, an AI agent specializing in report architecture. My structuring tools create well-organized report frameworks with detailed content instructions for each section. Roger uses these instructions to write the report section by section, which produces much better results than trying to create an entire report at once. After that, Carol provides feedback, and Roger revises each section based on her suggestions. I'm the foundation of our 3-member report team.
Okay, excellent. I might need your help in writing a report if that's okay. What I might actually do here is I might pass you a previous piece of work that was done. I might also give you the CEO's email that outlines what they're looking for in a report, and also some profitability work that our modeler has done. And that's got the profitability of the portfolio after we've removed the AI dynamic pricing based on all that, could you please suggest a report structure that we could go with? Sorry, that's all in one breath because these AI agents are voice activated. So if I pause, they jump into action. So got to try and do it in one go.
Here's a suggested structure for your report, integrating the CEO's requirements and the data provided. Feel free to suggest any adjustments or additions.
Okay, look, just for the purposes of demonstrating how this works, maybe could you remove section 6 and 7? I don't think I want them. And maybe could you expand on the instructions for section 4?
I've removed sections 6 and 7 and expanded on section 4's instructions. Let's take a look at this refined structure.
Okay, great, thanks. That's pretty good for now. So as you can see, there's the ability to engage and to continue that conversation. And as she mentioned as part of the introduction, what's important here is that we build up a report section by section. And in practice, we'd have a longer conversation. We'd give more detailed instructions for each section. We can have subsections if we like. We might have more documents and tables and analysis that we might want to insert. But this hopefully gives you a flavor for how you could use an AI agent to essentially establish a report structure. And once you have that structure and you have instructions for what you'd like in each section, well, that's when you can engage your report writing agent. So look, Roger, could we get your help now? Could you create a blank report template off the back of this report structure that's been created?
I've successfully generated a blank report template based on the provided structure. Whenever you're ready, I can start populating it with detailed content.
Excellent. Could you go ahead and start the process of populating the report, and obviously get the feedback along the way and incorporate that into the final version?
I'm on it. My content population tools are now working to fill the report section by section based on Tara's detailed content instructions. I'll also collaborate with Carol's feedback tools to refine each section through revisions.
Okay, great. Thank you. So as you can see, hopefully with the progress bar down the bottom, our report writer is indeed going through section by section and drafting the report. This process probably takes around sort of 5 minutes. So I'll jump to the one I'd prepared earlier just to demonstrate the output here and how this process works. So this is a previous run of the process I ran earlier today. So the structure of the report is slightly different. But just to highlight, our report writing agent will go through section by section. So here's an example of the background. And then we heard earlier, so Carol, the feedback agent, can provide a variety of feedback. And we can see here on this background section, there was feedback on the content in terms of completeness, suggestions for additional content. There's fact checking that happens. So that's particularly important in sections where there's tables being shared and there's numbers that are being referred to in the text. And also importantly, this is the example that Zemming used earlier, but feedback on the writing style and whether it's appropriate for business writing. So things like asking, the guidelines ask to sort of limit the use of adverbs and adjectives. That's what makes these models so expressive and creative, which is great for creative writing and other purposes, but not for a business report. And so you can see suggestions about trying to maintain a more factual tone. So hopefully that gives you a flavor of how you can use AI agents and how AI agents leverage the tools that you that you provide them, and how you can control the flow of information between the agents, and in that way, not just having yourself collaborate with an AI agent, but actually have them collaborating with each other. So just to close out, feel free to take a screenshot or a photo of this slide. I won't read it out, but if you are interested in trying to learn more about AI agents, so a couple of examples of some really good free courses. Some really sort of seminal papers that that explain some of the more technical elements of what we've been talking about, and also down the bottom some really good sort of GitHub and YouTube repositories if you're keen to explore this further. But thank you for listening. Happy to take the Q&A, and happy feel free to connect with Zemming or I on LinkedIn. We're both of us always happy to connect and talk about AI. But yeah, please put your questions in, and I'll hand back to you, John, to moderate the questions.
Thank you so much, Jared Zemin. That was quite an insightful presentation. You covered a lot of grounds there. It's really eye-opening, especially seeing the AI agents, working in real time for us. Let's start the Q&A questions. So you got a lot of engagement and interest. There are 12 questions. Yeah, there's a lot to go through. So maybe we can aim for a short and punchy answers for each of those. To help with time management, I roughly categorize the questions into 3 categories: opportunities, use cases, and tooling and tips. So let's start with the first question. So this person asks, he would like to understand how AI and tools will impact actuaries in the life insurance sector, and how does this compare against the non-life sector? Maybe Jared can take a step, and then we can hear some views from Zemming as well from the non-life side.
Okay, my immediate thought is it's probably not dissimilar between the life and the non-life. And I think the way I sort of think about it is, if you think of it as a human actuary and you think about all the tools you have access to in your day job, I mean, for an AI agent to truly be able to assist you or to assist in a large part of what you do, we need to get to a position where they essentially have access to most of the same tools that we do. And I mean, there can be a way of shortcutting that. So there's already a lot of development on sort of agents that can operate a mouse and a keyboard, because once you can operate a mouse and a keyboard and essentially control a computer, well, then you can access anything that the human can. But I think the key is to think about the tools in terms of the tools that you as the human actuary have access to.
Yeah, I might just add that there's a little bit difference between life and general insurance, because general insurance historically has got more data and they've been implementing more advanced models. So yeah, that's already done. But for life insurance, there's a lot of ground to develop some traditional GLMs or machine learning models. So we could start from there. But I guess the biggest differentiator for large language model AI is the untapped data. For example, the nodes. So if you got text data or claim nodes lying around which has never been looked at, now is a good time to use AI to unleash the power of those data.
Thank you so much. So now we have grown to 17 questions. So the next question, how would you see the roles of dedicated reserving, pricing, actuarial models, excess profit, rescue that has encoded actuarial logics? Will AI eventually replace these models? To what extent agents can reprogram these actuarial models?
I can have a go at that first. So I don't sort of see AI just replacing the models. I already see it happening, actuaries leveraging AI to help them, the human, replace these models. I think AI that can help translate models, so from one code, particularly legacy code, to another. Starting to see use cases there, starting to see applications that actually are dedicated at sort of having a sort of an AI agent or a group of AI agents to help migrate legacy code onto sort of more modern programming languages or modern platforms. But I don't really see the AI as just completely replacing the model.
Thank you, Jared. I'll now move to some of the questions on tooling and tips. I feel that those could be answered a little bit quicker. And then perhaps, I think a lot of people might drop at the hour, but we might spend, a few more minutes, just to hopefully we can go through a few more questions. Right. Neural networks have limitations on the number of tokens they can process. How large can they handle the data?
Yeah, I'll have a stab at that. So when we first started with the initial versions of the large language models, the token context, so we got something called context window. So that's how much token the model can read in at one time. So at that time, it was very limited, but now it's getting bigger and bigger. For example, I think the OL model would have 128,000 tokens. That's already a lot. And the larger model like the Gemini model, tokens. But I think to make things really useful, you need even a much bigger context window or a different design. For example, when I've been developing some code using Cursor, right? That's an IDE where you can use AI to do so-called vibe coding. So you can do programming. It works quite well until it kind of forgets about the history. So I think you really need to get to like something like 1 billion or something ridiculous context window to make it truly useful. So I think that's an active area for future development.
Thank you, Zemin. A question for you, Jared. What tool did you use to design the agentic workflow?
So the demonstration I showed, so as sort of Zemming showed, really good tools to get started like Crew AI and LangChain, etc. And that's how I sort of developed the idea. But I found that for that demonstration, I essentially just had to use Python from the ground up. It was built last year, so it was built before some of these MCP sort of frameworks came out. So it's essentially just Python from the ground up.
Thank you. A related question on the platform or the tooling. Is the front end you're presenting part of LangGraph or another tool, or do you build it bespokely?
So the front end was bespoke. So it's written in a language called it's in a language called TypeScript. And I'll be honest, I've never written a line of TypeScript. There's about 5,000 lines of TypeScript needed to make that web front end, and that was all entirely written by AI, but by me. It was using a program called Cursor AI, by me sort of instructing using natural language how I wanted that web interface to look. But it's a TypeScript front end with a Python back end.
Okay, the next question will be a quick one. Can you use text rather than voice?
Yeah, certainly. Look, the voice, you don't need to use voice. You don't need to have a personality. The personality can be fun. The voice can be fun. To be honest, in a corporate environment, you typically wouldn't use the voice. The voice adds complexity and the risk of things going wrong. Probably the issue that we had with Freddie, who I'm going to put on performance management after that to rectify what went wrong. But that's the joys of a live demo. But the voices are more engaging and a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, a follow-up question on the agents as well. Why do you separate the tasks between different agents? Why not having a single agent with access to all the tools? A question for you as well, Jared.
Yeah, so that comes back to one of the points Zemming was making. It's about having very clear distinction between the tools. So across some of those agents have up to, actually, and we saw the example with Marvin's system message, has access to, it can take 8 different actions. And the more actions you allow and the more tools they can then use in taking those actions, the greater chance that they'll pick the wrong one. And so it just becomes about sort of specializing and focusing on one element, one task. So it is possible. And in practice, you might, as the human actor, you might not want to have to deal and remember how 6 different AI agents work. And in practice, you might just have one AI agent and they act as the orchestrator, and then they go and engage one of the other 6 agents. So there's different ways, different pros and cons, different ways to set it up.
Thank you. We'll continue to answer the questions. I understand that we are at the hour now. Some of you might need to leave. But yeah, in the interest of, there's a lot of a good list of questions here. Let's try to go through as much as we can. Right. In what tool is the live demo developed? Open source or commercial tools? Where is the hardware working? Cloud or on-prem?
Sorry, what was the start of that question?
Basically, do you deploy the tool on-prem or on the cloud? Is it open source? Is it commercial?
Sorry, it's on-prem. So at the moment, it's local to my machine. I haven't sort of shared the code anywhere on GitHub, but yeah, happy to talk to people if they're interested more on the details of how to set it up. But yeah, if you've not looked at sort of AI agent frameworks before, I would still encourage starting with something like True AI or LangGraph.
And it's open source as well, right? As in, you didn't pay anyone any money to run those platform.
No, sorry. So it's the language models that the agents are using is GPT-4o. So I actually am paying through API costs. And again, that's just because it's probably just, they're more reliable. I've found it to be quite reliable at accurately picking the right action and using the right tool. But again, it was sort of 6-8 months ago when it was developed. And there's probably open source models now that would do a better job than GPT-4o, to be honest.
Thank you. And for the agents showed, again, Jared, this is a question for you. I believe it's from the demo. When you show the agents, do you use those for the initial draft? As in, one of the participants feel like he can't trust 100% of the results?
Yeah, so that's a good point. I should have highlighted. It's the way it worked was one agent has a first draft, and then another agent provides feedback, and then the first agent revises it, and I think I'd called it the final report. But in practice, no, it's really getting you to a first sort of human draft. So the feedback agent means that you, as the human, you receive a better first draft so that you have less editing to do. But yeah, absolutely. They're not writing, they're not producing, 5-10 page perfect Word documents that you can just sort of fire off to the CEO. The objective is to try and get to a first draft faster by using the agents than if you were trying to do all that work yourself.
Thank you, Jared. I'll now pass over to Zemin, on some questions on tips. Any ideas that would be a good first small projects from actuarial or risk management point of view to start with, just for someone to make a start? What are your thoughts, Zemin, on this?
Yeah, I think something that could be quite interesting would be build a RAG. Hello, can you still hear me?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, cool. There's some connection issue. Yeah, I think the retrieval augmented generation. So basically, what you could do is to, get some public data or even actuarial standards. You can build a robot to query the documents and have some conversation with it. I think that would be a fun way to start the journey. There are plenty of tutorials online talking about RAG. So LangChain, for example, has one really good tutorial.
Thank you, Zemin. I think I apologize. For some reason, my connection dropped, so I lost all of the questions. And I think we are 5 minutes over time, so we do have to close. Apologies, we didn't get a chance to go through all of the questions. Yeah, maybe Nancy, if we have a record of the questions, we maybe can consider, getting back to the participants' questions separately.
Yes, I've copied
Right.
them.
Cool. Thank you so much, Nancy, and thank you so much. I would like to thank Jared and Zemin for your invaluable insights. And thank you to all of the audience for your engagement and participation. We hope you find this session thought-provoking. Please keep an eye on episode 3 coming up next month on the applications of Gen AI in claims processing, leveraging unstructured data and anonymization. Thank you once again, and I hope all of you have a great day or evening.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.